for the top 4 of the Limitless qualifier of the Invitational number 2. How you doing, Martin?
I'm doing great. I just came off a little bit of a break after the top 8 game, so I'm refreshed, I'm super hyped, and I'm really interested in seeing how the matchups that we have left check out and how the remaining decks will fight for the championship title.
Lucky you to be so full of spirit, because we're very sorry, but we don't have much choice for this top 4. As you see on the screen, we just realized that well, Masato won and Taketo won. Taketo is piloting that Cincino Oranguru, and Masato is obviously playing this Welder Box, who seems at least on paper, to have a better matchup. While on the other side, we just had Welder Box, and Shitarito unfortunately lost his top 8 match, so it would have been Welder Box against Mito Malamar, which is the show we just showcased now. So in any case, I think we're just waiting for the people to prepare. And yeah, Martin, do you have any considerations about the matchup that we're about to show, which is Chinchino against Welder Box?
So basically the first thought is like that is the advantage is definitely on the player side who plays the Firebox, because you're able to target down Zations with the Ninetales. The Ninetales having a gust that's not conditional, right? You play like a lot of fire energy. He plays 18. Yes, you have a lot of gusts available to you. Pokedolls do basically nothing. You apply a lot of pressure in the early game. You're able to do that in a very consistent fashion. And if all of that like isn't enough to push you over the line, you even have late game insurances like a Victini Prism Star, which is able to shuffle back like 14-15 energy in a late game scenario, or even a Cramorant to snipe some benched Pokemon. So on paper it looks like it's an incredibly good matchup for Masato, but I think we had a look at the mid players list before, so he has a few answers, and yeah. Why don't
you said it all, actually.
them?
You said it all. Of course, there is some outs for the Minchino deck. For example, it could protect against the Victini Prism by having the Wobbuffet, as well as the Stealthy Hood attached on the Wobbuffet. But as you mentioned, Masato does play that single copy of Cramorant V. And the Cramorant V opens up another possibility, which is to snipe. At the same time, the Chinchino does play one copy of Mew, so he needs to be very careful about his bench overall.
Yeah, you need to manage your bench space. You need to assemble all of those Pokemon on your board very, very early. And yeah, maybe the mid player just won't be able to stabilize. But I think if you're able to get into like a game where you're able to build up a board and build up a hand a little bit at least, then you have a chance to maybe do something. If you also get lucky, not really lucky, but if you can mill like every other turn or something, and if you mill enough welders or something and hit enough resources, then you're maybe able to capitalize off that. So it's not all lost just yet, but it's going to be an uphill battle for Taketo for sure.
Exactly, I think that's a very good description. As you see, Taketo and Masato are friends already. They are already friends of PTCGO, and they're just setting up right now. They just sent the request for the challenge, and we're just waiting for them to accept. There we go. So yeah, this is gonna be one hell of an interesting matchup. We are watching this game from Masato perspective. Yes, thank you. And let's see who goes first. So he actually loses the coin flip, so Taketo will actually go first, which is quite relevant considering he needs to set up those Chinchinos.
Yeah, if you have evolving basics, you always want to be able to find them on the first turn. And we see Masato's hand currently not having any welders in it. That's like not optimal for the first.
Indeed. It's kind of the heart of the deck. But we're starting the top 4 match, having Taketo play Taketo Seki playing against Masato Shimada, both players from Japan. And there we go. We're already starting Oranguru as a starter for Taketo, which is definitely the Pokemon you want to have ahead. Maybe not so early in the game, but he does have a quick ball ready to set up. There's a Minccino already.
At least the Ranguru, yeah, like requires a Heatran or something to be knocked out. So it's like something that you start with that's not a Minccino, right? So you protect your Mincinos by having the Ranguru in the active. And something else I want to say about like having all of those Japanese players, like who would have thought that that Japanese players would do well in a tournament that is Japanese format basically. So yeah, I to me it's like no real surprise to see them do that well at the second qualifier. And yeah, they're both like on a super hot run. Masato literally and Taketo figuratively. So yeah, we see all their Pokegear misses. That's really unfortunate because now
It's
Masato
real
won't be
bad.
really able to advance his hand right here.
Saw in the previous game, Masato overall had a pretty solid series of games. It had a very good, the deck run very smoothly. However, right now we see that it's slowly. I mean, it's going slower than before. Obviously, this Blacephalon could draw prize this turn, but is that something you really want to do?
I don't think so, because that way you just turn on the Lieutenant Surge really early, and if you don't really have a board and your opponent gets to just aggressively mill 6, which in my opinion Cinccino can mill aggressively in a way better fashion than the Makago mill variant can do, because you have access to so much draw cards, you don't want to give them the option to do that.
I
So I
completely
think
agree.
it's fine to hold it right here and maybe just see. And also, you are still, even if you have a slow start as the Ability Zard player, or as the Firebox player, sorry, my bad, then yeah, you don't really worry about it because it's a best of 3 scenario right here, and you still probably feel really comfortable about your matchup in general.
So yeah, we go. Oh my god, that's another energy top deck. And if I think it just goes for the bursting burn, that's fair. That's 20 damage at least. But oh, it's not looking good. Given these many turns to a Cinccino mill, just sentences for death.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly what Taketo wants to see, right? If you're playing control or any sort of slower deck, if your opponent just has a few slow turns and you're able to capitalize off that instantly, and the game moves on to a point where your deck is really strong and you basically have all the cards in hand, like all the options.
indeed. And the further we progress into the game, the more the pressure is. Oh god, oh no.
There were
Let's
3 live cards on top of
hate
on top.
factory. Wow,
Like
that's so sad for
the
him.
Pokégear and the Jirachi were milled as well, right? So it were
Yes,
basically
exactly.
3 live cards on top of Masato's deck, and they all got milled away.
And even a crashing hammer, at least it's a tail. That would have just been, a nip in the bud completely for all the possibilities that Masato has. And he just draws a Vulpix. That's not too bad, but it's not really what he needs right now. He can still go for a bursting burn, but yeah.
Also, Blacephalon not really good at getting rid of Pokédolls.
Not at all.
Yeah, lost zoning the energy is like super bad. It's something you would never do, and you can't knock them out, so the opponent is just able to just put them under the deck if they want to, and then recycle them. So you're not getting rid of them for a very long time with the Blacephalon GX.
And there we go, the second Cinccino hit on the board, evolving that Ditto. I don't think he plays a copy of Persian, which would have been the other possible reason to play the Ditto, but no, he just plays it to have an extra Minccino spot, as well as a Macargo GX possibility in case the Mewtwo Mew is prized. So overall, he has a deck that is very considerate about the fact that he starts with 6 cards in the Lost Zone, basically. But yeah, we see more milling going on. Decides even to save up this doll for later. Puts it at the bottom. After all, why not, right?
Yeah, you're able to like save it from hitting the discard pile, and Taketo already has the other doll in hand, so yeah, just keep throwing them down, and yeah, you're able to just consistently start milling cards now. And the Den is just insult to injury because there's a Palpate, in Masato's hand, and if you throw that away without using it in any way, it feels really bad, and you get rid of a lot of
Indeed.
resources.
At the same time, Masato could be fine as long as he finds the Victini prism and he ensures that it's not gonna get milled. So I think if he goes for that, but oh no, 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 he doesn't even find one. He doesn't even find a quick bolt tutor for it.
And he finds Welder, but no energy this time.
Wow,
That's
this is
also
just
really unlucky.
injury and insults at the same time. So sad here to see, but obviously the game is still open. As we said, it's a very favorable matchup for the Welder box. And consider also this is a top match, so if we go to a game 3, the person that will have the least prizes will win.
Yeah, that's what I said, right? You can lose one game if you're the abilities are player. You might lose one game to variance. And in a best of 1, obviously that feels really, really bad. But in a best of 3, you feel still really confident if you're able to execute your game plan consistently. So I wouldn't be too worried about it just yet. But yeah, we definitely see what the mill deck is designed to do. Just draw a bunch of cards and just go from there. Strip your opponents away, resources just away as good as you can. And I would maybe, I don't really know if it's worth scooping, but maybe you can consider it after you draw a few more turns.
Yeah, right, because right now he could obviously continue this loop with Victini.
That's always the
But
big talking point in best of 3, right? When do you scoop?
Yep, exactly. It's very sad when you're scooping against a matchup that you usually win. It feels really bad. So I think they're just going for, hey, listen, I know this matchup might be over already, but let's just keep going because I still can go on basically infinitely thanks to Infinity Victini. So let's go if he draws something he needs. Oh, there's a fine energy. That means Welder is finally online. And, well, he can also accelerate energies, which I believe to be quite good.
Yeah, accelerating the energy is really key. Maybe getting up to those 3 energy cards that the Hydra needs, but there's no energy being drawn off the Welder. So only 24 cards left in deck, and no sign of the first attack from Masato just yet. And at least the Victini is in the deck. I believe that was the first deck search with that quick ball. So
yeah, there it is. But he just decides to go for a Jirachi. Very interesting.
Yeah, I want to see more cards. Probably needs a giant half right here to just keep cycling through his deck. Because if you brick again, then it becomes really bad. Also, the Jirachi is not really threatened, so you can leave it in the active for a few turns. And from this point, you have stabilized a little bit. You have your Ninetales on board, and you might be able to bring it back at some point. And
this is good.
Yeah, it's really good. You need to plan out your knockouts though in a really nice fashion, because if you knock out Pokemon that your opponent doesn't really need on board, then he can just slap down the Wobbuffet because he doesn't need to replace like a Chinchino or something. Like if you knock out a Zacian, right, your opponent will just be happy to place down a Wobbuffet and be like, okay, then I have
exactly. Zacian did its job for now, but I think the real problem right now is that it still didn't grab that Victini Prism. This the reason still escapes me.
Yeah, it's scary. For sure, it's scary.
Because for sure the Beloved Bryceman will hit this turn, and grabbing that Cramorant is not exactly good. He was lucky enough that the Victini was not milled here. But let's remember that once the Victini hits the discard, it's gonna go to the Lost Zone. And I don't think it even plays Pokemon Recursion, to be fair. So I don't know.
You usually don't see that. You don't need that recovery.
Yeah, I checked, it doesn't, so pretty scary here. He's playing on the edge. I think he's either going for either I win this game by not going infinite with Victini, or maybe or he's very mindful about the Wobbuffet that the opponent could play.
Yeah, of course he knows that there's a Wobbuffet, but yeah, it's still if you can. I don't know, if you don't play any hand disruption, it also becomes really difficult once your opponent has drawn the whole deck. And there we see the Stealthy Hood being recovered, so Taketo definitely preparing for that Gust effect that is about to come.
At least. So he grabbed also the Cramorant V, which in case the Wobbuffet with the Stealthy Hood does come down on bench, then possibly he can still snipe it with Cramorant, as long as there's no Mew into play, because then he would need to catch up the Mew, knock out the Mew, and then start sniping in the bench, but that's going to be really hard and really long. So there's a Jirachi.
There's still no Victini
Doesn't
V.
grab
I would
anything.
like to see the Stellar Wish after. If you commit to play the Welder, then you should probably Stellar Wish after, but I don't even think... Maybe he's just going to hold the Welder right there. But I think you need to draw some cards to dig for that Victini Prism Star to be able to at least start recycling everything in your deck. But as... Oh, he can get it with Big Catch. My bad.
Oh, look at that. Tutor for any 2 cards, and there he goes. He grabs directly the Victini. So yeah, actually, that's the reason why he wanted to grab that Cramorant. Probably last turn he missed the energy, and that's why he couldn't do it. Couldn't do this tutor for 2 cards.
His hand won't be attacked this game in any way, so yeah, getting the Victini to the hand, really safe play. Yeah, now the like the pressure is on Taketo a little bit, because you need to find an opportunity where you can put down the Mew and the Wobbuffet at the same time. And even if your Mew gets knocked out, you need to keep recovering that, probably, to protect your Wobbuffet from being sniped.
Exactly, that's very true. He does have the Cramorant, so the bench from the bench looks very clear right now. He has a Cramorant, he has that Victini. Sorry, he has the Victini in hand that will probably hit the bench soon, and he also has that Ninetale. So he has all of the good options that this deck has against Taketo, so it's looking pretty good. And right now, he's thinking about the Belelban Bryceman secondary effect, I think. The Belelban Bryceman secondary effect says that you can discard... There it is! You can actually discard 3 cards from your hand, and then each player needs to discard... Basically gets parallel CD.
Yeah. And that's really nice here, so just making sure that the thing that we talked about would happen, where you will be able to hit... put down the Wobbuffet and the Mew at the same time, if you like to.
There's one more Ordinary Rod, and let's see what gets shuffled in. It's probably just cannon fodder cards, just cards that he wants to be milled anyway, things to discard with Minchino. And there we go, yes. So we still need the Wobbuffet, the Stealthy Hood, and the Mew, because remember, when you're playing milled, you're basically starting with 6 cards in the Lost Zone. You don't have Gladius anymore to help you out. So yes, that's something to be mindful of.
Yeah, let's see if something like that, if something's in the prizes, that would be really sad. But we can't know that, unfortunately. But putting down the dolls is always fine, to just get them out of your hand. That's what I really like about the Poké Dolls, that you can just put them under your deck, and it's basically, if you put them down, then it never comes back to bite you, because you can always just get rid of that Pokemon that essentially a placeholder for a Pokemon. So yeah, that's another thing that it's really nice and makes Pokédoll just so much better. There's the Wobbuffet coming down.
So let's remember that. Let's refresh a bit the rules regarding Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet cannot, as long as it's in the bench, Prism Pokemons cannot attack and have no abilities. So as long as it's in the bench, it's basically shuts off the Victini Prism. And additionally, it has that Stealthy Hood, which means it cannot be targeted by opponent's abilities, which means the Ninetales is not going to be able to drag it onto the active. So yes, it's a pretty good luck. The only way to get out of this is if Masato is able to snipe the bench with that Cramorant V. However, as long as the Cramorant V will take a knockout, he will go lower in prices. So I think it's perfect luck from this point onwards, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. If you attack now with the Cramorant, you can't attack with the Cramorant now, right? Because if you do, you just lose. Because you turn on the Belelba and Bryceman plus Search combo. So yeah, and you can't drag up. So yeah, really good timing actually. If that's the case from Taketo, Really interested in seeing how it will work out, but yeah, Masato. So welding onto the Victini Prism Star, still charging that up. I think you're right that like the game is like should be over at that point, and also
I
Masato
think the
starting to get
only
rid of his...
out is if it drew the reset stamp.
Oh, he has
Right.
Lysander Labs!
Oh, he has Lysander Labs, right? He can bypass that.
I'm blind!
Massive,
Oh,
massive, absolutely massive, lads.
no. Lysander Labs shutting off the Stealthy Hood, being able to be targeted by the Ninetales ability, dragged
Wow.
in front to the active, and there we see Infinity shuffling back like 15 fire energy. That's crazy.
Massive, absolutely massive. Props to Masato. Absolutely. Well played, well played. So yeah, actually this game is far from over. Now, of course, Taketo will have access to the Lieutenant Surge. However, right now, the deck of Masato is basically infinite. Every turn he can attack with his Infinity. And I think the only way right now for Taketo to stabilize is to, just resource management, get back the Wobbuffet, get back the Stealthy Hood. However, that's not much. There is the Faba. That's very important too.
Yeah, that's the
Labs is
first
gone.
step. That's the first step, I guess.
But what's the difference between now and before is that now the deck of Masato is much, much thicker. And it can also sustain many more turns of... it for sure has another attack of Infinity, I believe. Oh, there is an Ordinary Rod, however. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to expect that Ordinary Rod coming out, but there's no way to recover the Stealthy Hood in this turn. So the Stealthy Hood will probably be resource managed back into the deck on the following turns. I'm pretty sure that the Wobbuffet will still come down. There's no reason not to just put it down again and just annoy the Victini by doing that, because you can basically recover it infinitely. If you just recover one Ordinary Rod, then it's fine.
Exactly. You see, there are many levels of play in this matchup that we have not really considered. As I said, the perfect combo would be for Taketo to have the Mew, the Wobbuffet, etc. But that's not even a perfect lock. It can still be broken down by a catcher on the Mew. However, in this situation, Lisandro Labs really flipped the matchup around.
Yeah, I wasn't like... I mean, the combo was obviously there, but I was just not realizing it in the moment it happened. Like, yeah, obviously Masato just spot on, exactly knowing what he was going for, playing conservative in the early game. I mean, he was forced to do so, but still he didn't overextend and greed for resources, and now he's in a position where he can recover. Like, he can try to recover every other turn or every turn, but still, he is dangerously low on cards and deck.
Yeah. He did it with such nonchalance as well, that play, to just,
yeah,
just
like, it was just natural to him, right? Felt
yeah,
like,
right?
That's the only logical play I can make right there, right?
And I think right now he should go, yeah, he's just going for the Infinity. That's not gonna knock out, but that's still gonna add cards to his deck. He could have gone maybe for the Dene, try to look for more cards. However, I like this play. He's just taking it slow. He understands that this matchup might not even go to a full set of 3 games. And so he's just deciding that he's really committing to this first game.
Yeah, now he's committed to this game for sure. I agree with that.
And I believe that this game is not even one way. As soon as a player has the upper hand, both players have the chance to, to come back from this, especially if one is the Xinchino player is able to reestablish the lock. So it really depends how the game shapes up, but in any case, I don't think there is anything that would drag any player down and just pull him out of the possibility of winning.
Yeah, I think both players still have every option to win. So yeah, basically an open game, and I'm really interested in seeing how Masato will play this deck, play it out. I think Firebox is always regarded of like kind of a high roll deck, but if you play like the right techs and like the right stuff for certain situations, and yeah, it smart play still gets rewarded. So yeah, there's the Boba Fett coming down again. Probably Stealthy Hood as well. Yeah, you want to combine those.
So yeah, we probably need to see Cramorant coming down soonish, because obviously it's kind of a race. Taketo cannot mill down Masato in one turn. However, you can still mill enough cards so you cannot snipe it anymore and win as well.
Yes, so you need to be really careful that when you attack with the Cramorant, that you are not falling below like a threshold of certain threshold of cards. But that's going to be really difficult in that in the setup that we have right now, because if you like, there's no access to Welder for Masato right now, and charging up the Cramorant manually would take a really long time. So I think it's still a pretty difficult spot for Masato, even though that momentum swinging play from the Lysan Lilips was able to buy him a few turns.
Unfortunately, Oranguru just shows how important it is in this meta and how threatening it is. And there we go. Masato just scoops out the card, understands that at this point it was too low. Maybe if he had 3 more turns, he started 3 turns earlier, I think he would have won this game by a large margin.
Yeah, he bricked like the first 4 or 5 turns.
Yeah, 4 or 5 turns. Yeah,
that's so bad versus Mill. And yeah, I still think maybe it would have been a better choice to scoop a little bit earlier and just go for the next 2 games. But it's still fine. You your deck can win quite quickly versus Mill if you get the right setup. But we saw that even though it is considered a really good matchup, that Mill can still pull it out in the end if you play your cards right and you know what you're going to do. Even if the opponent throws some obstacles in your way by doing something like the Lysander Labs play.
Exactly. Obviously, the ability to have the ability having the Oranguru having the ability to recurse the cards is very important. It just proves that you cannot just have one swing turn against this type of decks. You need to have the correct tools that in the long run keep giving you value and are able to defeat the looping abilities of mill and control decks.
Yes, Defiot is just so good. But yes, that's like similar to the discussion like playing one resource management or Oranguru in stuff like ADP. If you don't get anything done in the early game, then Mill will still be able to run away with the game, because recovering 3 in the Oranguru's case, or recovering just 1 of your resources, like all fire energies, is sometimes, or like a lot of times, not enough to pull you over the line.
Indeed. It's just a tempo swing you usually needed just to take the last knockout, but even then, you probably don't have enough chances if you didn't have a good early game to just beat the deck, because, just spamming dolls and spamming other things is going to be quite hard. So we're just waiting for Taketo to accept the challenge. There it is.
I believe
yes, it should have been the Taketo goes second.
Yeah, Masato typed that he wanted to go first, so I believe...
Maybe we can have the judges step in into this matter?
Yeah. I mean, it's quite an easy fix, but still...
Yeah, they need to notice, however. And we are back. We just had a little. There was a little mix-up between Taketa and Masato. Masato was supposed to go first, but right now Taketa is going first. We're still on the matter of resolving this. But in any case, yeah, sometimes it happens. Of course, these people were talking in English. But yeah, Martin, how do you see the first game?
I think the first game was really interesting, and I really liked the play from both sides, and really showed why they are in the top 4 of a big tournament like this. Just keeping their cool and not overextending. I really like that. If people like don't overextend and just greed for some plays that are maybe possible, but the odds are not too great for it to happen. So yeah, I like conservative play a lot, and I don't like if people go like ham and completely aggressive.
Overall, they panned out their resources very well. Of course, Masato had a bit of unfortunate, unfortunate draws at the beginning. But overall, he recovered somewhat and even had a huge swing turn.
Yeah, really well played. And still, like, yeah, seeing those two Japanese players, of course, it's like super early in the morning for them already. It's like, I believe, 4
Yeah.
a.m. in Japan. And I just respect that so much, staying up basically all night to just play in a Pokemon tournament. And it's just so great seeing them being rewarded for their effort and for the nights that they like sacrifice their sleep.
Indeed. So it seems that the players are just rolling with the fact that Masato went second. We're not really sure for the moment, but I guess if Masato will play a card, he'll probably just cool with it.
The head judge is currently talking to them, so David is working on resolving it. However, I cannot give updates about this because it's in Japanese, as both the head judge and both players speak Japanese. But they will hopefully figure it out.
Alright, so as you understand, we're just waiting some more time. But we saw actually the place in this meta for Welder Box. It wasn't really a deck, right? It was a very niche deck. It did well at the beginning, but later on it just was overshadowed by IDPization. What do you think is his current position in the metagame?
Yeah, I think I haven't really seen like the matchup from Firebox versus ADPization play out enough times to give like in like the changed version of Welder that like plays Cramorant and plays like multiple Heatran or something. That there's the things that we saw this tournament. So I'm really not sure how this matchup plays out, but obviously Masato was able to beat the ADPization quite a number of times, and yeah, I think it's kind of coming back maybe, and I'm not really sure how it will turn out going forward. I believe the Welder decks will fall short a little bit, but I guess that's what we always say, and then they somehow seem to win an international right after that. So
exactly. It's always the coming back of Welder Box. You just say, "Oh no, it's a dead deck," and then it wins on international.
Yeah, so we see that the issue is finally being resolved. Players should just be remaking the game. It's for PTC Joe's quite an easy fix, and good thing that we can contact the.
Yeah, thank you very much for the judges for being also here. Thank you for David for also acting as a bridge between the languages. And there we go. We're finally back into the game. This time, Masato will have the chance to decide whether he goes first or second. Let's see. Taketo finally gives the first turn to Masato, and there we go. That's a start. Oh yes, Heat Factory turn 1. That's excellent.
Yeah, Heat Factory really nice turn 1. If you want to go for more, you could did it change depending on what you draw. But I think if you just draw a communication of the Heat Factory, you're pretty happy with that already. And the Blacephalon is also not too bad of a start. I think it's like the only viable GX attack. I don't think you want to commit a bench spot to it, or you don't want to commit any resources of finding it, but But if you start with it, it's like the only viable GX attack that you can use in that deck versus Mill. Taking an extra prize card seems quite good versus Mill, like without having to work for it in any way.
Indeed. There we see a Vulpix just being put on the active. It probably just wants to charge this Ninetales, because the Ninetales is a very valuable attacker actually, doing 90. I think it does 90, right? And it should be, but in any case, just having the Ninetales ready to snipe the basics that Taketo may be able to put down, it's very, very important.
Yes, the Ninetales attack does 90 indeed, and the Chinchino only has 90 HP, so if you're able to just collect them off with the attack from the Ninetales, that would be really nice, because then you don't have to commit to any other attacker, at least for the early game. And yeah, you need to probably find your Victini Prism Star quite fast, so it doesn't get milled, but that's probably one of the only things. And now, since the Muse on board, you maybe don't even commit to the Cramorant, but now that he has it in hand, maybe consider benching it.
Yeah, you know, as we saw before, it's a tutor for 2 cards. That's really good, actually. Especially considering there are a few cards you want to save up in this matchup. He actually decides to retreat onto the Victini, puts a Lysandre Labs. He saw actually that Taketo hand was pretty much empty, right? He just played a Bloodband Bryceman and benched the other Pokemon that he had.
Yes, that's true. That no Intrepid Sword Nosation coming out. And if the Minchino would get gusted up right here, that could be really, really dangerous. And there's a Fiery Flint. There are also some follow-up welders for Masato.
Excellent stuff. Absolutely wonderful stuff. He actually decides to discard a welder. We also see that the Victini is in the deck. So yeah, I think right now you should go on the aggressive foot. What do you think?
Yeah. No, it's the time to go on the aggressive. It's really hard for your opponent to punish you for that. And you have, with the Victini, you have a attacker setup that is flexible and can consistently output different amounts of damage, and can also recover the fire energy if that would be necessary at any point.
There we go, the Victini finally attacking with this energy rush. I think it's called 90 damage. Knocking out that Minchino, already cutting off Takeda's legs, trying to, you know, just slow down this deck. Maybe he will find some outs, like there is a Tate and Liza finally. So draw supporter.
Yeah,
let's see if he draws something else.
Is still fine. There's the Great Ball, hoping to find one of his basics, either a Zacian or a Minchino. And I think, yeah, if you put down the Zacian, it's already becoming quite dangerous. Like, maybe not this turn, but eventually in the later stages of the game. But you're forced to put it down if you want to be able to keep drawing cards.
I would really enjoy seeing Masato sniping that Zacian next turn if he can. So there's the mill for free, no Victini being milled.
Yes,
excellent
stuff. That's important. And there we see another Minchino coming down, so that will maybe also be a valid target to go for on the next turn.
Indeed. And I would really like, as I was saying, a snipe on the Zacian this turn. That would mean that if Taketo wants to put down another Zacian, he's just offering 2 other prices to Masato. We might not even see the Victini come down at this point. So let's see what he goes for. He actually decides he's eyeing up an energy on the Cramorant. Probably wants this Victini. Maybe he just wants to go for the safe play.
Yeah, maybe just going for the Victini out of the deck.
Catches the board, but the board doesn't work because there's Lysandre Labs.
I mean, it's still fine, because the Victini... You actually want a lot of energy, like some energies in the discard pile, I think, to be able to recover them back into your deck, so you have more cards in your deck.
Sure, if I agree with this line of play, however, but obviously they have played this deck for what, 21 rounds or something?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they know better than me.
I think it's fine, because if you keep just attacking right here, then you run the risk of maybe overextending. Like, it's better to play it safe, I guess. And if your opponent, like in this scenario, Taketo only has 1 Chinchino set up, like 1 Chinchino ready to evolve, and you can target that down eventually, and he would need to play like a Belelban Bryceman with the extra effect to clear out his own bench and stuff, and that would like get rid of a lot of card advantage that the Minchino mill usually uses to overwhelm their opponents. So I think it's fine to not go for the super aggressive play right here.
I agree. Obviously now there's only one, as you said, there's only 1 Chinchino, and I think Taketo right now is looking after an extra Chinchino hitting the board sooner or later. He's also, I think, considering the fact that he has still 32 cards in the deck, he needs to start you know, cycling through them. He needs to reach the point in which he can just resource management the few cards that he really needs, and eventually set up for game.
I think this turn, the coming turn, we will see the Victini Prism Star attack combined with the Gust of the Ninetales if Masato is able to collect all the all 4 energies in his hand that he needs for that play.
Indeed, indeed. Obviously, from the situation, once you have the Victini down, you are expecting that the Wobbuffet will soon be knocking at your door. And there we go. There's actually 2 energies attached to the Victini Prism.
Oh, no energy off the Zelda though.
Yeah.
So no Gust available this turn at least.
Indeed, indeed. So I might even go for a beat catch, or maybe just going for an infinity to reshuffle. Yep.
Yeah, you need to keep your deck size quite high if you have like 5 prizes left to take.
It's a healthy deck against the kind of deck that's, you know, exploits that weakness.
Now it becomes also quite interesting if you if Taketo plays Belelba, you just fuel the Victini Prism Stars attack. And yeah, if, as you said, his deck is quite large, and if you have to have the Wobbuffet plus the Stealthy Hood, which are both one-offs in the same turn, it can become quite difficult, especially when you have no Cinccino set up.
Indeed, indeed. At the same time, the draws from Masato will be less exciting from now on, considering there's a lot of energies in his deck. But overall, he's pretty much set up. I think he would enjoy a bit more energies on the Cramorant, on the Victini, even on the Ninetales. And even a Crashing Hammers, but no, that's gonna be a Tails from me, dog. That's another Intrepid Sword to draw more cards. So no Cincinos yet.
Yeah, there's another energy finally off the top, so the Gust would be able to come out, but now there are no energies in Masato's discard pile, so now he's in a tricky situation where he has to decide what he wants to do.
Indeed. And, sorry, let's see actually what... So we see a pretty mild turn overall from Taketo. So there's a switch into the Ninetales, probably just retreating, boosting that Victini attack.
Now you can go for a knockout on the Mew, which is fine, because that opens up Big Catch, Spit Shot as an option.
I think the Mincinos have 70 HP, right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. We need obviously Masato is mindful about the fact that he needs to start drawing prizes. The opponent does not have that win condition, and it can just win by other means.
Yeah, now we see no Cinccino just yet, but there's the Wobbuffet. That's a really good start, and there's the Stealthy Hood. Who needs Cincinos to draw cards if you can just get Wobbuffet Stealthy Hood anyway, right?
That's a Professor Research as well, so he's fully set up. Now 16 cards left in deck. Let's see if there are Cincinos in that hand. That's a great ball. Let's see if it hits one. If it does, then he's gonna start cycling and cycling through these cards, eventually reaching enough cards to every turn mill 6 or even reach the 11 cards milled. So that's ahead even from the Crushing Hammer. Cards from the Victini, that's fair. So it's even scarier now for Masato, because if he doesn't draw an energy, he will be just stuck with a Pokemon that cannot attack and cannot even use like the Victini V to set himself up.
Yeah, now it becomes really scary if you're the Ability Zard player. I mean, you still have 25 cards in deck, but there's a Wobbuffet that's threatening you. The only way to deal with that is to go for a Spit Shot, as long as the Mew doesn't get recycled. But there are already 3 Wailers in your discard pile, and also the Palpad is gone. So accelerating the energies to a Cramorant will become really difficult. Like, the only way would be that Victini V, but very mindful of Taketo getting rid of that energy with the Crushing Hammer. Really well played.
Exactly. So Duran Guru, I think he will fetch back a Mew at least, to just, to have an extra layer on his perfect lock. Let's see, actually here, yeah, exactly, that's the Mew. 3 Pokemon's actually being reshuffled. And, he top decks the energy. That's actually very important for him.
Yeah, you want to be able to re-accelerate the energy to just hit your discard pile. But still, it's the mid player slowing down the game and taking away the momentum and slowly closing in on the win condition that they certainly have figured out. So I would have thought initially that the matchup would be great for Ability That, but it seems like Mill is still really
It
well
didn't
equipped
look
to deal
so.
with it.
We would have just assumed that it would have been a really easy matchup, but not at all. Actually, it seems instead that it's the Mill deck, the one that is in the driving seat right now. So let's see. There's an Oranguru, resource management, and this Victini is set up. So next turn he can actually take out this Oranguru if he would like. But it's interesting also that he didn't go for the Cramorant. Set it up for later.
Yeah, I think it's maybe you would consider it as like it's maybe a bit too slow and you don't have a lot of energy in hand and you have no energy acceleration left and you want something to take immediate prizes and force your opponent to have more pieces and get another resource management Oranguru down at least. Like at least make your opponent work for the infinite cards they get every turn.
That's like, a nice way to put it.
That they get back, yeah.
So another thing is also that the welder box sometimes falls short in this type of situations in which you're not able to connect welders after welders, either because you at a sudden turn cannot play any more Tidene, such as in this case since his bench is full, or in other case where you're not hitting the energies. In this case, it's both, unfortunately, for Masato. But however, the lock keeps tightening from Taketo, so he needs absolutely take matters into his own hand and get back into this game.
Yeah, I mean he's not in danger of taking out just yet, but he's in danger of being put in a position where he's just not not going to be able to do a lot, right?
So Taketo right now is back into a very healthy shape. He is set up completely. He has the combo on the ground, and right now he probably just looks after filling out his deck, and eventually Oranguru will just replenish the deck each turn.
Yeah. Now, also that price cuts have been taken by Masato, Lieutenant Surge is online, as we saw already one come down earlier. So yeah, having multiple supporters a turn that will be recycled by Hellpet. It's just so strong, right? If you're able to play two supporters in one turn, and mill decks really just wait for that perfect moment that the Lieutenant Surge is turned online. And now we see Welder top deck, the last one, but there are no energies to go with it.
Oh, that's so sad. At least he gets a knockout with this Victini, dealing 120 damage since he counts also the opponent energies. But look at that, 3 quick balls that he can't really use, Pokecure that he can't really use either. So yeah, right now it's a pretty stale hand from Masato. He needs to find maybe an energy, a Fiery Flint would be awesome.
Yeah, just get the energy out of your deck in some way. I mean, last game we saw it that it came down to a situation where Masato's deck were only fire energy, and he still was put in a position where he couldn't recover enough, or could not recover anymore with the Victini Prison Star, and now he just would wish for that his deck were only fire energy. So the position overall is really rough.
So right now he needs to consider as well that Taketo needs to consider that if the opponent is able to snipe that Mew, he will probably need another Oranguru to reestablish the lock. As well, every time he gives an Oranguru, it's gonna be one price that you're giving up. But actually, interestingly, there's gonna be Blood Bryceman for the full effect.
Yeah, once again, like that's why the double Cinccino was so important, right? You need to generate the card advantage to be able to put back, put the Pokemon from the bench away and free up your bench spot. And yeah, the Zacian, as you said in the last game, it did its job perfectly. It drew cards in the early game. Now 2 Cincinnus are set up, and Oranguru is ready to recover. But that's a really scary situation. I think Masato's playing one reset stamp, if I recall correctly from last round.
Yes.
Oh, there's a Palpad to save.
There's a Palpad, luckily. That's
okay.
Enough
I was
cards.
just a little bit worried.
Yes, exactly. If it would have drawn the reset stamp, you could have just reset stamped the Takata and it would have just lost. Taketa, sorry. And there's a resource management. So yeah, right now
really
actually this opens many more possibility. However, also for Masato who wants to, and we know that there are just 2 cards left into Taketo hand, which is not a position you want to be in if you're playing Chinchilla Mill, because you always want cannon fodder cards, things you want to discard.
Yes.
So yeah, let's actually see where this leads, because it's not looking great actually for Taketo.
Yeah, still the could be anyone's game, but I wonder what the reasoning was behind keeping, like, if you get rid of either the Cramorant or the Victini Prism Star, then the other one doesn't really do a whole lot, right?
Exactly. I think he just decided on the idea of I'm gonna take a knockout this turn with the Oranguru, then I'm gonna take another knockout somehow, probably with the Ninetales, and in the end I will just draw the last prize with Blacephalon. So I think it's a pretty fair choice. Also, there we go. That's the knockout on the Oranguru. And is there any way for him to accelerate to go towards this end without exposing himself too much? Because if he does, then he would be at risk of getting decked out.
It's going to be really close for sure. It just will come down to if he can find. He needs to find a Belelban Bryceman this turn, basically, combined with Lieutenant Surge, and mill 6 cards this turn, and then be in a position where he can Burning Magma GX on the following turns to mill the rest of the cards. Because if you don't mill 6 here, then the game becomes basically lost, I think. Because as you said, yeah, you're not able to keep up with the Heatran drawing the last prize and the Victini, the Blacephalon drawing the last prize.
Blacephalon GX. They're very similar in your defense. So there we go. 4 cards left in hand. There must be some way to recover cards in that hand, or Taketo is just gonna lose by his own win condition, which might happen obviously sometimes. But there we go. Does he have a way to stabilize this game? There are 13 cards left into Masato's deck. 13 cards are not many, but they are enough to survive 1 turn of the full mill effect.
Yes, that is true. Maybe he will rely on the Mewtwo tanking a hit, but versus Velda, which has like a Blacephalon GX on board, and also there are 4 different energies on board, it's really probably not a good idea. And we see the Mew getting promoted, so yeah, that's basically useless because the Cramorant has left the board. But if you're promoting the Mew, you're
just saying I'm gonna win next turn because there's just 12 cards left in Masato's deck. Can he mill all 12? I don't think he can, right? It's just 5 with the Mewtwo if he has it. And yes, exactly. And he scoops up the card. He understands that he's not gonna win. So with around 15 minutes on the clock, we are moving on to game 3. So yeah, what do you think about the second series?
I think it was really close, and yeah, basically it came down to the fact that Taketo wasn't able to build up enough card advantage where he could use the Belelban Bryceman's effect very comfortably, and he had to throw away important resources just to pay the cost of those card effects in the end. So yeah, not really overcommitting, he just did what he had to do, but yeah, still that put him down in a position where he wasn't able to draw all the cards he needed in the very end, and just falling just a little bit short in the very end.
Indeed. It was a very close game overall, and the first game as well showed that both decks have a higher possibility, but look at this start! Oof! I am not sure I enjoy it. I'm pretty sure Masato does not enjoy it. If he draws maybe a basic to attach this energy to, it would be a good start, but look at the opposite side! Look at that!
Oh, wow, that's very strong. That's so strong.
It's massive. The Zacian, as soon as he hits the board, it's just a draw engine every single turn. 3 cards.
Who needs to play supporter on the first turn if you can just end up with 4 basic Pokemon and like 6 cards in hand after turn 1 anyway, right?
Why do you play Quick Ball? Just draw them, forehead. Damn it.
Basically feels like Bridget. And there's another energy. So the Stellar Wish and Pokegear will be
Or at least there's a quick ball, but he needs to hit a welder as well if he wants to make something out of this hand.
Yeah, that's the sad part
What
about combo
do you go for here, actually? Oh, he decides to do first the poke gear and later the quick ball.
Yeah,
Which is fair, because then you would have chosen the
reasoning. Yeah, the reasoning behind that is the Denne. You're totally right. If you miss the welder, right, you just go and you just bite in the sour apple, right, and draw 6 cards.
What would you go for here? Would you go for a heat run and take the knockout?
Yeah, I think you basically, if your opponent is able to establish a very strong board on the first turn, maybe that's just what you have to do, and maybe you hope to draw into your Victini Prism Star, which is unfortunately not priced once again. So that's a good first step. And if you start taking prizes again as quick as possible, you need to get something done in the very early game. Whereas Cinchino Mill, just recovering and playing defense won't be enough if they have all the answers in deck.
Exactly, so there is the knockout already. This enables opposite the Lieutenant Surge, but with such a low hand count, it's very probable that Taketo does not have the answers yet to exploit the Lieutenant Surge at its... So yeah, the game is still open for grabs. This is the first time that we see a knockout on the first turn happening from Masato.
So great boy, grabbing the Cinchino, starting to draw some cards, already looking way better. Because also the fact this time is that Masato doesn't have a Ninetales setup. Last 2 games, the thing that he had going for him a lot of the time were that he had Vulpix, found the Vulpix really early.
Yes, exactly. This time it is not the case. He does have the Ninetales, they just drew off the prices. But the lack of Vulpix might be very heavy to sustain in the long run. So yeah, he has a welder to draw more cards, and it's a pretty useless welder. Probably his energy will go... It actually goes in the heat run.
Oh, these draws are so bad right there. He found all 4 welders plus the Pelpad in like the first 20 cards of his deck. Oh my god, that's...
We're talking about how this deck can be considered high roll, and I think this deck is a high roll, just for the fact that you need the welders to line up perfectly. And sometimes you can add enough consistency. Like, I think he plays 2 Poke Gears. He does play the 4 off of Jirachi, or even 3 off. But sometimes the deck just doesn't line up correctly.
Yeah, if you have to have everything fall into place, it sometimes just doesn't. And yeah, Baleba and Bryceman milling away aggressively, milling the Heat Factory. I was holding my breath, kind of, a little bit. If you see a card hit the Lost Zone, you're always like, oh no, that's the Victini. But
there's an air balloon at
least. Pokédoll in the active, stalling out some prize cards, and going on the defense for now for Taketo, because there's not a lot that he has to worry about right now. It's on Masato to find an answer to break through those Pokédolls.
Exactly. So finally, he's able to put the break to pull. Oh, that's the Victini! Yes, that's what
very close from being milled. There's a Victini, very well. Hopefully a Vulpix to come with it.
Oh yes, Pokemon communication, baby. Give me that Vulpix. So I'm gonna probably put back the Oricorio, I would guess. Oh, it actually decides to put back that. Interesting. I would have definitely put back the Oricorio.
Yeah, me too, because you don't mind if the Oricorio gets milled, and you can... Yeah, as we see, the Blacephalon came in also like clutch as a win condition, as a threatening win condition on the last game, so I think it's better to put the Oricorio back in the game, into the deck.
Also, he just attached an energy on the Victini rather than weldered it, so that's gonna remove 3 draws off him. So, I don't know. So there's the Palpad.
At least he gets value from his Palpad for now.
Yeah. Actually, I think he did welder. My mistake.
Yeah, maybe he did welder early in the turn, and yeah, he is able to recover 2 of them. So already looking like, if you look at his resource game, it's already looking a little bit better than the last games, because the last games he wasn't able to fully utilize any welders, all of his welders.
So one more Beledman Bryceman, I think it milled an escape board and 2 other relevant cards. I would say that all the relevant cards are already out. Maybe the Cramorant is the only one that is missing right now. But we saw that before he pulled ahead, no problem, without the camera. He also has that Zacian. Taketo has this liability in the form of that Zacian being the bench, which will eventually be very hard to stay. It will give away 2 prizes. So there's a quick ball, discarding the Recorio.
Yeah, I think drawing some cards here to go for a Gust with Ninetales would be really important. Well, not really what you like to see, right? Okay, he's grabbing it anyway.
Okay.
I mean, maybe he's thinking, okay, I don't need those anymore, but I would just leave them in the deck because that's more cards for my opponent to mill. There's no real reason to thin out the deck.
I guess
right
so.
now.
Maybe he just didn't want, he just wanted his deck to be full energies, but that's a weak argument, I would say. I don't know. He still, in the end, he got what he wanted. There's the 9 Temptation. He can go for a knockout on that Chinchino, trying once again to remove the card draws from Taketo. I could even go for the Zacian right now.
I think Zacian right here makes a lot of sense.
Yes, I really like the idea of going to Zacian because when you take out the Zacian that a mill player has on the board, he is forced to replace it, especially when he has still 20 cards in his deck. But however, right now you're saying nope, you can't do that because if you do, I'll just Gust it up again and I'll win the game.
Yeah, you basically force them to stabilize without Zacian, and if if Taketo gets down like triple Chinchino this turn, then it's fine. Then probably Masato did a favor for him just knocking out the Zacian. But if he's not able to establish strong card draw otherwise, then it's going to be really tough. And yeah, we see just another aggressive Belelba milling away, but no Wobbuffet to hit the board just yet. So all of those energies that got milled might just be recovered on the following turn, and even the Ninetales would be able to Gust up the remaining Chinchino and knock it out.
Indeed, indeed. And I think right now it's the perfect moment to go for a Victini. He has 11 cards left in the deck, and that means he could be in range of losing the game. However, thanks to that infinity attack, he's able to just replenish. He would have to discard some energy for the hit run, but who cares? They will just be shuffled back.
Yeah, you even like those, right? Because you're able to... Because that means you get more cards back in your deck.
Yeah, and he can even go for a 9 Temptation. He has the luxury of going for this 9 Temptation. He's gonna get all those energies back. And he gusts up the Chinchino. Now he just needs to attach the energy to the Victini, and the deed is done.
Yeah, just retreat 3 energy, and then like 10 energy will get shuffled back. And also there's the Blacephalon.
Yep.
To threaten the first Rex on the following turn, and if there's nothing that will disrupt him in any way, then that might just be the game, and he will advance to the final.
Maybe he doesn't draw an energy, but pretty sure
he just put 15 back in.
He also has Fireflame in hand. Doesn't really matter.
So yeah, that would probably be the game.
He needs to pull the rabbit out of the hat.
That was so impressive, right? It looked so grim for him, and after game 1 he was just breaking in that game, and then in game 2 he came back and really with smart play and his opponent running out of cards, and yeah, Masato really playing really well and showing why it is in the very end is probably a very good matchup for Abilitizard, even though...
Indeed, indeed. He started pretty weak in game 1, let's be honest. But in game 2 and game 3, look how dominating his position has been. And yes, there we go. He just needs the energy on the Blacephalon, retreats the Victini, and burst GX for the win. Very well done from Masato, advancing to the finals and ready to take on the winner of the other bracket. So congratulations to him, and congratulations for Taketo as well for giving us such a wonderful show.
Yeah, really both players playing incredibly well, representing Japan in like the best manner of ways. So I'm really impressed by both of these players' plays, and yeah, just super excited to have them here and in those huge tournaments.
Indeed, indeed. So thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll be right back with the finals, probably around 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the other group. So see you soon.
See ya.